You're there.
Yeah, I'm just not gonna let it stand this time, but I have to have more than just me saying, Malcolm, you're wrong.
Thank you for attending this evening's meeting of the Westerville City Schools Board of Education. We're delighted to have all of you. The agenda will be displayed on the screens in the front of the room for you to follow along, and there will be 2 opportunities tonight to address the board this evening. The first being Agenda Item 6.1. The first set of public comments is relative to Agenda Items 7.1 through 11.4. Please state the agenda items you are referencing at the beginning of your comments. The second opportunity is Agenda Item 12.1. There is a sign-up sheet located on the table in the back of the room. Each speaker will have 5 minutes to address the board, and a timer will be shown on the screen. And with that, Ms. Marshall, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Bell?
Here.
Dr. Nesterbaker?
Here.
Ms. Cotter?
Here.
Mr. Velardo?
Here.
Mrs. Davidson?
Here. Will you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do not have any district highlights or recognitions tonight. 4.1, approve the minutes of the meeting held on July 8th, 2019 and July 15th, 2019 as presented. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments? Questions? Ms. Marshall?
Ms. Cotter?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Dr. Nesterbaker?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. 5.1 is a back-to-school report by Dr. Kellogg.
Thank you, President Davidson, members of the board. Okay, like it or not, we open our doors tomorrow, so here we go. I visited about 7 buildings today. Everybody looks ready to go. Just stopped by transportation. They're still working hard, but they'll be ready to go. They promised me they'll be ready to go, and so here we go. I want to run down a couple of things for you as we get ready to open the school year, and if there's particular spots you have a question you want to ask me about, feel free to pipe in, but just going to kind of run down a couple of things. First of all, as we've done in previous years, we'll begin tracking enrollment on a weekly basis. We meet on Monday mornings as a leadership team and start looking at our enrollment. We usually do a year-over-year status to see how we're doing compared to this time last year. Keep in mind, this is the time of year where the process of enrolling students into the district is a lot faster than the process to withdraw them from the district because of the legal requirements. So we typically see kind of a crescendo of enrollment and then a slow tippering off again until about October. The state stopped doing their October count several years ago, but we continue to use that as a benchmark for ourselves. So when we get to that October 1 date, we'll really lock down and say that's about where enrollment is. But as it stands right now, we're at or exceeding our projections. Particular spots, kindergarten, wow, has really blossomed would be the right word. I think we were 1,000 students last year in kindergarten. We were projecting 1,022, and I think we're somewhere around 1,080, Barb? 1,087. So that's our highest kindergarten enrollment ever. So that's exciting. We see some buildings where we have significantly higher enrollment than last year. We'll continue to track all that. Keeping in mind, we have added about 1,300 students in the last 15, 16 years, and our projections have us adding more. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that. On hiring, it changes by the moment, it seems sometimes. I'll be in Mr. Hopkins' office and he'll say everything's hired, and then somebody's life circumstance will change and we'll be in the hole again. But we appear to have all of our teaching classrooms covered. We have some other staff places where we need to hire, but we continue to be prepared for tomorrow. We had a great new teacher orientation, welcomed our new teachers in, those who are replacing people that left, and some of our new folks. Very good orientation with them. Friday was our educator day for all of the staff. That was a very productive day, lots of good sessions, lots of active people. And back in the early part of August, we had our administrative retreat with all of our administrators. This year, our focus was getting better at getting better, and we talked about leading organizational improvement and what did that take. And so Staff seems to be in a good place. We're ready to go. Tonight, you're going to approve transportation routes as you do annually. We've had some modifications to our magnet school transportation, some changes in how ODE allows us to do that. So just so people in the community know, you may see transportation services for magnet school students in parts of our district where traditionally we don't have transportation. It's a non-transportation zone for that school. So it may be a student who resides, I'm going to make this up as I go along, they may reside, for example, in Robert Frost attendant zone, but because of where they live relative to the magnet school, we're providing transportation. So we'll see that. It's not an increase in transportation, it's just a shift in how we do those services for magnet school. And the good news is,
So,
go
Can
ahead.
I ask one question?
Yeah.
So will there not be then hubs then for the transportation, or for transportation you go to, and then the magnet kids get off and kind of go to a different bus to go to the school?
No, it does not end the hub system.
Okay.
Who's back there? Mr. Dorn, is that correct? That's correct. Thank you. Yes. That's great. No, a great question. Good news is in terms of transportation, our bus drivers, we're in good shape. We still like to hire some substitute drivers, but in terms of covering our primary routes, we're ready to go, which has been difficult the last couple of years, not just for us, but for everybody else. So I think FY18, we had 8 open routes. FY19, we had 5 open routes, and right now it says we have 3 open routes. So we're in a much better place, but we're always looking for substitutes and always looking for drivers. So it's out there on the website if anybody wants to drive a bus or a van, great opportunity. We also had our first-time riders event. I was out of town this weekend, but I heard it was very the weekend of it, I heard it was very successful. So we're in a good place with transportation. Capital projects, a lot of work going around the district as usual. One of the ones that you will notice is the sidewalk in front of Hanby, which is not actually our project, that's the city's project. That's about complete. But that project on top of the road construction there is making life there a little difficult, but we're getting around it. I was over there for Meet the Teacher, and people are finding parking, but a little challenging at times. So we're doing okay there. We're a little bit behind schedule on the roof at Hawthorne, so they're going to be having to come in outside of school hours to complete that, but it won't interfere with operations over there or cause the school to shut down, but there'll be people coming in after school and leaving before students show up at night. The building access controls, this is part of the safety and security initiatives at the secondary buildings, are about complete. The new buzzer systems and visitor pass systems are just about complete at the secondary level, and then we'll begin the elementary level. So that security upgrade system is in place, so that's a good news. South project, phase 1, clearly underway. I've walked that building several times. We have weekly meetings, making sure everything runs. They're making sure all the egresses they need for safety and security taking place. Good signage around the building. I was impressed at how clean the building was for scheduled pickup night, given the construction. So I think people are aware of the project, know what's going on, and we're managing it okay. I'll be happier when that big hole in the side of the gym is. I asked if we could put like a nice shower curtain across it or something to just cover up the big hole, but it's coming. We'll get there. The other exciting one is, as you know, we've been doing an extension of the cafeteria with the high school cafes. Off-site from the regular cafes is an additional place for students to get food service on top of what we have. Creates another option for students. At Central, I think that project is ready to go. Am I right, Mr. Dorn? And open for business. At North, bit of a delay. We have to do some redesign, but that project is getting ready to get started as well. South project, of course, is tied to the larger construction, but we'll continue to look how to provide those same services over the same time frame for students in those buildings as well. So they may not have the space, but the service will be available to them as well. So that'll be nice. Anybody's ever done high school lunchtime knows that multiple places for kids to get food is a good thing. So we're excited about that project. As a reminder, the funding for those capital improvement projects comes from food service budget. Their carryover dollars need to be spent within the food service. This is something we've done in other places. We've done kitchen upgrades, equipment replacement at other kitchens over the years. Amherst would be a good example. Blendon we did a couple years ago. So this is what we've done consistently. These are just larger scale because of the magnitude of high schools. So excited about those pieces as well. And I've walked several buildings, floors look good, we're ready to go. Furniture's back in classrooms. At least in the 6 or 7 buildings I was in today, people seem to be happy and ready to go. So, building's ready. Implemented a new fee schedule that the board put in place in terms of reduced fees for families for their academic fees. The one that I know some people were paying attention to that's really not ours, the College Board changed the timelines for paying for their course fees. I know that changed. It's earlier. We're working through that with parents, and there's still opportunity for people to either pay for that or receive refunds if that's what they need to do in the future. But there's a cutoff date the College Board has for refunds after that date because materials have been ordered. It changes. So high schools know about that. That was new for some people, but that was really out of our control. That was College Board who did that. We had a nice communication piece that came out from Debbie Meisner to all of our families that gives some good information regarding, hey, here's common language and procedures we do for school safety. I appreciated that going out this year again. I think that's a good one for families to have. So in the unfortunate circumstances where either because we're rehearsing, which we do, or there's an event, there's something for them to turn to for definitions. For example, difference between lockdown and lockout can be very confusing for people, and those are very different functions. So I encourage parents to pay attention to those when they come in and find a place to keep those for themselves. The other big change, state did modify graduation requirements. It's really fun now. So the current freshman class has a set of standards. The current junior and sophomore class has a set of standards, and the current senior class has another set of standards. There are similarities in some of those. The biggest change is for the incoming freshmen and the reduction in the number of state tests that they're required to perform for graduation. That's significantly reduced. All three have components that allow for some flexibility with students who struggle with the assessments, the tests. So school counselors, principals, and Scott Reeves and his team continue to implement that. We want to get a better handle. Some of the pieces in the new requirements for this freshman class still need some definition by the state, but we're working on those and we're well poised for those. Overall, I like the changes. I think they're better. I just wish it wasn't so disparate amongst the different groups of students. So we'll continue to work on that one. And the last one, of course, our biggest changes happen to be in the middle school program. I know there's been some questions about some of those changes and the impact. Just a reminder, went through a 2-year study process with staff and parents and students to look at programming. There are several recommendations being implemented over multiple years. This year, our big focus was really the teaming piece at 6th grade, and the addition, which includes a new class period called Flex Period. It's a period where the 4 core teachers have all of the students and can do all kinds of flexible grouping, learning, extended activities with those students, and bring in outside resources for education. For example, this is a great opportunity for our gifted staff to work directly with small groups of gifted students if they want to, or for intervention services, or for just extension from the classrooms, or I know a lot of their focus in their training for the first several weeks is mostly around team building and social emotional and getting used to being in middle school. A lot of those executive functioning skills, a lot of that is part of the focus of what they want to do at that time period with the 6th graders. And we added electives at 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. 8th grade probably got the least amount of resources this year. Some new electives, and the extended day with the extra period it makes it a little bit awkward in that some of those students have more study halls than we'd like right now. We're looking at that, working with that. One of the ideas being looked at is how can we use the available resources and some of the other electives that might be available to those students. But in talking to principals, I think they have some ideas how to maximize that time. So what you really have is a little bit more free time for some of our middle school students in which we can do more things with them, both in terms of social emotional learning and academic performance as a piece of that. Making sure I got out of this. Probably the hardest spot Spanish is always a high demand in 8th grade. We haven't changed our staffing there, but the demand is always there, and there's always more demand than we have available resources now. We didn't make that change going into this year. It's certainly on the table for next year to see whether or not that's where we want to extend, or whether or not we want an additional foreign language beyond Spanish at the middle school level to feed the high school. So we want to continue to explore that option as well. And I know that's a big one for a lot of people. So we continue to work on those pieces. We do anticipate adding FTE for more electives that will impact 8th grade, particularly next year where we have some holes moving forward and are starting to define that. The teaming at 6th grade is a project we want to examine over several years before we extend that to 7th and 8th grade and really get a handle on the data and whether or not that change is significant. Because to move it forward to 7th and 8th grade, which may or may not have the benefits we want, requires staffing too. So certainly FTE for electives for middle school next year, down the line, considering whether or not we want to expand the 6th grade teaming to 7th and 8th grade in the future. And continuing to find ways to address both the academic needs and social emotional needs of those middle school students. So that is probably been the one area across our system in the last 8 to 10 years where we really left ourselves with some blank spots from previous years. We really want to grow that. So I'm excited what we've put there. I wish it had been more faster, but I think we're in a good place moving forward. So we are ready for school. At least I am. And it doesn't really matter if I'm not, or am or not. It's really, is everybody else ready? Because that's where all the real work is. So to all of our staff across the board who have spent hours and time getting things ready for our kids, I'm really, really excited about the year. I'm really, really excited about people's approach, the leadership we have, the great people we've brought in, and to watch the young people get ready for school again. So buses on the road tomorrow, people. Let's be ready. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Nope, I don't have any.
Is everyone excited?
I am.
Oh, yes.
I am really excited, and Scott Reeves was in here a minute ago. I am taking you up on your note last week to the board saying that we ought to check out the 6th grade day tomorrow. I will be doing that. I'm excited about seeing what they have planned for those 6th graders. This has such potential impact as we look at social emotional development across all of our grades as we see what happens there. And not just with that, but with so much that's going on. The administrator retreat, I was pumped when I left that. Our people are good, they're strong, they're smart, they are willing to work hard, great bunch of people. Same thing, left the new teacher orientation, like, yes, oh, this is great. We have incredible people here. And first day of school, the first week of school, the first few weeks of school is always just incredibly exciting to see all of those pieces link up and make the magic of education happen yet again.
It's a good reminder. So tomorrow is 7th and 8th graders are really happy because they are home tomorrow. 6th graders only tomorrow, and Jen will start for kindergarten the next 2 days. Full day kindergarten, full kindergarten. All kindergartens report on Friday. So, and preschool has a phase in too. But everybody else is here.
My senior would like a gentle start to his year. I shouldn't. The administrative retreat and the new teacher retreat, there really was a lot of buzz in the room, and they're exciting. And I'm just saying a word because you mentioned it. I've been in a few buildings. I haven't been in as many. But I just think the work that the custodians and the building staff are doing to get these buildings ready, they're just really working hard. Sometimes the teacher has to move from this room to that room, and all right, we got to move all that, and the floors and the gym floors, and they're just doing really good work, and they don't get shouted at. Shouted out. Well, they get shouted at me. Shouted out enough. So I just thanks to them for that.
I am staying away from transportation, though. Speaking of people who get shout-outs or shout-outs, I'm staying away from transportation for a week or two.
So I'm kind of sad. My little boy's going to be a freshman. Little boy, right?
Yeah.
But he participated in a freshman orientation at South where they did a half-day thing, and it was interesting watching these kids come in because they look so young, and I keep thinking they're going to be seniors just like that and be bigger, and it just kind of got me. So anyhow, exciting. Up next, public comments, and we have one speaker this evening, Miss Peg Duffy.
I'm addressing agenda item 11.02. We have a ballot issue. This is the best time in the world for some voter education. I've been attending board for over 30 years. I worked with League of Women Voters at the state level. So there's a lot that I understand and I take for granted. And with your experience on the board, you've probably done the same thing. But as I'm talking to people, I'm frightened and amazed at how little they understand about the entire process. So I would ask for 11.02, and I'm crossing my fingers because I figure if I'd had Scott Dorn as a math teacher, I would have liked math a whole lot better. With the kind of report that he gives, maybe all the questions will be answered. But we need an understanding. I don't want to be the one to try to explain to people, so hopefully this will be in a report or on record that people can see the whole OFCC, how this figures into the overall plan for what we're doing.
Thank you, Peg. 7.1 is a resolution to approve the purchases in accordance with ORC 5705.41 and Board Policy 6320. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Marshall?
Yes, so these are the purchases for what we affectionately call then and now purchase orders. So this is where we have invoices that are dated prior to the date of the purchase order. We have two of them here. One is for Challenge Day. I think this is something that's just going to happen every year because Challenge Day offers a discount if we book prior to June 30th or July 1st. And the program doesn't actually take place until sometime in November. And so because it comes out of the current fiscal year budget, we can't get a purchase order in place until July 1st. So the purchase orders were open, later in July. The booking date was done in May so that we could realize that discount. So I do think that we're going to see that probably every year as just the way the timing works out with that. The other piece is the Educational Service Center of Ohio. We work with them to place some students in different organizations for mental health behavioral issues, and this was a difference. We had a difference of opinion with the ESC about how we should be communicated with the placement of those services, and so we were actually withholding payment until we were able to get that worked out with the ESC. So that's why you see that on there now. Are there any questions about that? Okay, Ms. Cotter?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Dr. Nestabaker?
Yes.
Mr. Velarda?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. Up next is the personnel consent agenda, 8.1 through 8.9. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
And Dr. Hopkins is here to speak with us this evening.
Good evening, President Davidson, members of the board, Dr. Kellogg. I'd like to present for your consideration the personnel consent agenda. Some of the highlights in this evening's consent agenda are as follows. We have a total of 26 resignations from various classified and licensed positions, which is normal for this time of year. I'd also like to point out that many of these resignations in the classified side were to take new positions in the district. So we're excited that many of the people are moving up into new opportunities for them. We have some one-time payments to district teachers and staff for professional development opportunities. We do have the employment of 25 individuals to various classified positions, the employment of 17 new teachers, and as Dr. Kellogg and many of you already alluded to, we welcome 60 new teachers to our new teacher orientation, where we welcome them to the Westerville family. So I appreciate everyone from the district office and from the board to come and make that day special to them. They left feeling energized, but most of all, they really felt this is a place they belong, and I heard that message quite often, so it's exciting to hear that from our newest educators. And we also have the employment of one new licensed administrator. And with the board's permission, I'd like to go ahead and ask Ms. Allison Fisher to please stand for just a moment. I'm pleased to welcome Allison as the new assistant principal at Walnut Springs Middle School. Ms. Fisher is joining us from Olentangy Local Schools, where she worked as both an English teacher and a administrative intern during her time at Liberty High School over there. She has almost a decade of experience teaching at both the middle school and high school in English language arts. She received her bachelor degree from Ohio University and completed her graduate work at both Mount Vernon Nazarene and Concordia Universities. And I'd like to go ahead and also recognize she's joined tonight by their husband, Tyler, and their beautiful daughter, Evelyn, who we'd like to all welcome them to the Walnut Springs Wolves family. Any questions you may have?
No, thank you very much and welcome.
I need to vote.
Yep.
Mr. Velardo?
Yes.
Dr. Nesterbaker?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Ms. Cotter?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. We do not have any old business. We do not have any new business, but we have some standing business. 11.1 is a resolution authorizing the extension of the master supply agreement for the purchase of electric service from Direct Energy. And Mr. Dorn is here to talk to us about it, but may I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Nicely done.
Good evening. Good evening, President Davidson, Vice President Velardo, members of the board, Dr. Kellogg, and Ms. Marshall. The resolution in front of you is related to the future purchase of electric services for our 7 AEP buildings provided by Direct Energy Business through an extension of the current agreement. Those buildings are Central High School, Genoa Middle School, Faust, Alcott, Wilder, Hawthorne, and Huber Ridge Elementary Schools. All of our other buildings are served through Westerville Electric. For these buildings, our current rate is 3.5 cents per kilowatt hour with the supply agreement scheduled to end May of 2020. However, recently the market costs have fallen, and this provides us with an opportunity to purchase this commodity at a lesser price. We anticipate the cost to be between 3.2 cents and the current price. Through the first 10 months of this last fiscal year, we used more than 7 million kilowatt hours. So you can see that that would make a bit of a difference at just those 7 buildings. We are afforded this opportunity through our membership in META and the large consortium of schools that allows for the advantage of the economies of scale through an RFP process. The RFP was conducted previously, I think back in 2017, for the master supply agreement, and that agreement began in June of 2017. This extension is recommended by the META Energy Committee and Governing Board, and will extend the agreement through June of 2022 at these prices. This resolution authorized the superintendent or his designee to sign the amendment to the master supply agreement when its language is finalized.
Question. How does the rate we're paying to Direct Energy compare with the rate we pay to Westerville?
You know what? I don't know
Okay.
that answer off the top of my head.
Let me know sometime.
Sure.
Thank you.
Interesting. Anything else? Any other questions?
Ms. Cotter?
Yes.
Dr. Nesterbaker?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. 11.2, a resolution selecting a firm to serve as the architect engineer for the expedited local partnership program and authorizing interim services agreement. May I have a motion?
So moved.
So seconded.
And Mr. Dorn is here. Speak with us.
Okay, before you tonight is a resolution to select Triad Architects to serve as the professional design firm for the district-funded Expedited Local Partnership Program project to design and construct improvements to school facilities, and it requests authorization to enter into an interim service agreement with Triad for planning and programming services as well. In May, the district published a request for qualifications for design services and subsequently received 9 statements of qualifications from various firms. Those statements were evaluated by the 4 evaluation team members using the 23 criterion from the request for qualifications as a guide. Each team member reviewed the documents independently, and there was consensus by all 4 team members that Triad Architects was in the first ranked position. A subsequent ranking of all other submittals followed after that. Given the long-standing relationship and history with Triad Architects of successful projects and the fact that they were independently selected by all 4 members of the evaluation team as the most qualified firm, the evaluation team recommends to the board that the district continue to work with Triad Architects for design services to implement the first 5 years of the district's facility master plan, which includes a new elementary school, a new middle school, renovation and expansion of Amherst Elementary School, renovation and expansion of Whittier Elementary School, renovation of Hawthorne Elementary School, a partial renovation of Longfellow Elementary School, a partial renovation of Hamby Elementary School, a partial renovation of Emerson Elementary School, and various building improvements at all other buildings, as well as other district capital improvements. This resolution will provide Dr. Kellogg with the authorization to enter into an interim service agreement with Triad for the time period preceding the November ballot issue. We have received an initial project proposal from Triad for all associated project fees, and those numbers are on target based on the OFCC 2019 Ohio School Design Manual. However, the interim service agreement will only be for the portion of the pre-design and schematic design services for 3 components of that total project: the new elementary school, the renovation and expansion of Amherst Elementary School, and the district's security initiatives, and only that portion of work that is completed in this time period.
The OFCC has guidelines, recommendations on the cost for such work, and does the cost that we would be approving tonight fit within the OFCC guidelines recommendations?
The OFCC guidelines or recommendations for design services is 7.5%. The proposal that we received, really that we're not actually ready to agree to until the November ballot issue would pass, that totality of all those projects plus our normal capital improvements is under 7.5%.
Thank you. You answered it in the way that I needed to hear, to share with the community that we are listening to some guidance from OFCC. And secondly, you answered the question that I was going to ask. Secondly, this is not us assuming anything about the ballot initiative in the fall, that it is beginning the process so that we are ready to go, but we are believing that there is still education and process and conversations with the community that are very important. So we're not jumping ahead and making any assumptions. We know our work is before us, but this is a part of that process. OFCC guidelines, listening to community input, following the procedures, not making any assumptions, but believing that wisdom would be about planning, preparing, getting yourself ready as you go forth. So I hate to be long-winded there, but you answered both questions, and I appreciated that. Within the guidelines, not making any assumptions, but just moving forward in a very business-like, sequential manner, and I appreciate you and your team doing that. Thank you.
Going back to Peg Duffy's comments earlier, there is info throughout the facilities planning documents online on the district's website about OFCC and the expedited local partnership and so forth. But I am asking, and not only you, but Dr. Kellogg, if we could have some people take a look at what info is there, also take a look at the info that you've presented tonight. It's important that we get some very clear, whether it's bullet points, PowerPoint slides, whatever, clearer so that people can have a better sense of what we're actually talking about. So I think if we could get some of this info pulled together, including the information from tonight, including the information that you just provided around the 7.5%, I think that would be very helpful to the public and also helpful to all of us as we speak to members of the public.
Do you think that would be good to be a part of a FAQ kind of package that we provide in different forums? You know, this, because OFCC, does everybody know what OFCC is? Everybody know what that recommendation,
I think
does that make
that's-
sense?
It does. I think that's part of what, we should take a look at. What is the information that's out there, and how are we saying it? And those of us who toss those things around all the time probably aren't the best ones to necessarily make that decision. What are people saying? What people don't understand? How do we get that information out there? What makes it clearer? What clears up any of the mud that tends to float around any sort of ballot issue?
That's great. Anybody else? No?
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo?
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Ms. Cotter?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. 11.3 is a resolution approving designated bus routes and bus stop locations for FY20 school year. May I have a motion?
So moved.
You can have it. I'll second it.
And I'm going to guess Mr. Dorn's going to speak to us about this.
I am. This resolution that's in front of you right now is to approve the bus routes and stops for the current year. The Ohio Administrative Code 3301-8313 requires annual district board approval of all bus and van stops and time schedules. This requirement must be accomplished within the first 10 days of the start of school. Although the state requires transportation for students in kindergarten through 8th grade who reside greater than 2 miles from their home school, Westerville service parameters continue to exceed the state's minimum requirements by providing transportation for students in kindergarten through 10th grade, and when possible, 11th and 12th grade students as space is available. In addition, we provide van service through the My Van program for special education students in grades K through 12. This year, there are 100 bus routes to 34 locations, of which there are 24 public schools, 6 private schools, 1 charter school, and 3 career centers. There are currently 11,521 students assigned for transportation, and our transportation team continues to assign students to bus routes upon enrollment, new student enrollment. Students' bus stop information was made available in Power School on Tuesday, August 7th, and the resolution in front of you will approve all routes and stops and will allow for alterations that need to be made due to efficiencies after we start the school year and see how things are rolling. That the previous reference to the Ohio Administrative Code allows.
Okay. Questions, comments?
Ms. Cotter?
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. Thank you. 11.4, overnight and out-of-state field trips. Looks like the wrestlers from Westerville North are taking some trips. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments here?
Mr. Velardo?
Yes.
Ms. Cotter?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. We do not have any public comments, which takes us to board comments. Who would like to go first? Anybody?
I will. I'd just like to once again wish the staff and students a great and successful school year that will get underway bright and early tomorrow morning. Looking forward to a great year. I kept mine short.
I'll just go ahead and echo that I wish everyone a great year, and I appreciate everything the staff's done this summer to prepare, and I'm looking forward to it.
I already said what I had to say, but in my mind, it's never stopped being magic.
I bet you were one of those that you got your school supplies like in what, June?
Yeah. Pack them and unpack them, pack them and unpack them.
Oh. No, just what we've already said. Just thank you to the teachers, staff, administrative team, custodians, secretaries, all of them just pulling together, I think, for 15,000 plus reasons. I really believe that's why they're doing what they're doing. So, thanks to them, and be safe. Be safe. Drive carefully next few weeks as things get going again. Drive safely after that, too, but...
I was going to say, just for a couple weeks.
Off the hook.
All right. So I will just say ditto to everything that was set up here. So 14.1, the board will meet in regular session on Monday, August 26th and Monday, September 9th, 2019 at 6 p.m. here at the Early Learning Center. And with that, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Cotter?
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mr. Velarde?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. We're adjourned. Thank you.
You may notice the blue cups on your table. That's okay. I should have said it. It's on me. It's not on you.